If you were to tell me a year ago that I would be making YouTube videos and developing an indie game, I would probably just ignore you since I don't know you. Yet, here we are. It has now been 6 months since I started developing my game, Bite the Dust, and uploaded my first video here on YouTube. In this video, I will talk about my journey in the game dev space, how I got into it, and the process so far. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. So around February earlier this year, I was just doom scrolling on YouTube Shorts when all of a sudden, this guy shows up. This is Thor from Pirate Software, and this guy made a lot of content around game development. And much of his content was all about motivating people to get creative and create stuff. As many others out there, I was inspired to try to get into game development. I started watching a lot of game dev content from different creators, from devlogs to podcasts. All of these content creators and game devs had their own unique stories, experiences, and approach in how they made games. I thought listening to other game devs' stories and experiences was a nice way to learn more about the game dev industry. But even though they all had their unique tips and tricks to get into the game dev scene, they all had this one piece of advice for people wanting to start making games. Just start making shitty games. So after making a Flappy Bird clone by following a tutorial, I started working on my first small project, a puzzle ball game where you control 2 different balls at the same time. I worked on this project for exactly 3 days before I realized that making games is really hard and takes a lot of time. Time that I don't really have because of a full-time job and other stuff going on in my life. Because of this, I only worked on it when I had some spare time. While I did enjoy working on this little small puzzle game, I did want to create a proper game at some point, but it didn't seem like I would have the time for this. However, as luck would have it, on a lovely Monday morning in May, something beautiful happened.
Fired!
I lost my job. Suddenly, I found myself with all the time in the world, well, at least as much as my savings could allow me to work without a job. And with all this new time, I decided I wanted to start creating my very first game and release it. Now, what kind of game do I make? Maybe I should try to stand out from the other beginner devs and make something that no one has ever done before. Platformer. I'm doing a platformer as my first project. A boring choice, but it's important to not be too ambitious when starting out the game dev journey. The goal for me is to get better and learn, and having the game being a platformer should be easy and allow me to make the game very quickly. At least that's what my dumbass thought 6 months ago. It did not go fast and it wasn't easy. I figured with the lack of game dev experience, I wouldn't be able to make something with insane and crazy gameplay mechanics. But this doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. Making a game with simple controls will allow anyone to be able to pick up the game quickly. So I decided that my game should be as simple as possible. A close friend of mine really likes games such as Getting Over It and Jump King, where the goal is to keep climbing upwards while trying not to fall down. These games are not very forgiving, as one mistake can set you really far back or even send you tumbling all the way back to the beginning. I really liked the idea of this, and I decided that my game would be based around this mechanic. So I created an empty project and oh man, where do I even begin with this? There is so much that goes into making a game. Level design, programming, music and art are some of the more obvious things, but you also gotta create a Steam page, market and playtest the game. And all of this takes a lot of time. This can be a little overwhelming when you first start out, and you could easily be discouraged by the amount of work you need to do. The best way to overcome this is just to split up all the tasks into smaller ones. Taking things one step at a time really helped me create a good workflow. I sort the tasks into different categories in the checklist. After completing a bunch of these, then sooner or later you realize that, oh damn, all these smaller tasks really add up fast. And before you know it, you made a lot of progress. And it also feels good checking off these checkboxes. Working on the game for the last 6 months have been a mixed bag for me. It's been fun working away on it and learning new skills. And even though I still have a long way ahead to becoming a great game dev, I'm really proud of what I've done so far. The highlight for me was uploading a build of the game to Steam from a desktop computer, then downloading the game through Steam and actually playing it on my laptop. Like, I couldn't believe I had done that. And I know it's not the craziest thing, like I just uploaded some files and then downloaded it again, so it's not really a big deal. For me, it was a milestone and a reminder that damn, I'm actually doing this game dev thing. Of course, it hasn't just been smooth sailing all the time. There's been multiple times where I've been stuck on different tasks, where I had to spend a lot of time figuring out how to find the solutions. It became very clear to me that music and artwork are definitely my weakest side when it comes to creating a game. Like, I'm able to make some simple, decent enough stuff, but it just takes me so long to be able to create it. Another huge issue I've had is that my motivation to work fluctuates a lot. Some weeks I'm really pumped and get a lot done. Other weeks I barely feel like doing anything at all. And on top of that, I have a bad habit of playing games when I should be working, especially if whatever I'm supposed to be doing is difficult. What I've done to counter this is to save smaller tasks that can be done without using any brain power. Tasks like placing these tiles in this checkered pattern, where I can just turn off my brain, listen to some music or podcast, and just crunch out the work. Saving a few tasks like this makes it so that on the days where I'm not really motivated, I at least can get something done, even though it's just a small thing. Making devlogs along the way has also been a nice way of keeping myself accountable whenever I've been unmotivated to work. I've also come to enjoy making these videos as well, even though they're not the best ones out there. The only downside is that making these videos takes a lot of time that I probably should have been putting into the game instead. But on the plus side, this allows for people to see my game and give me feedback as well. I was really nervous when I first started posting here on YouTube, but for the most part people have been really nice and supportive in the comment section, which is crazy to me, but it also makes me happy. People tell me the game looks good, but goddamn, if you only saw the way I code and how I go about getting this game finished, you guys would... oof. I can absolutely guarantee that I'm not going about this the optimal way. Behind the scenes, it sometimes feels like I'm just poorly duct taping the game together. And you guys are just seeing it from the good side. But hey, if it works, it works. At the end of the day, the player don't really care what goes on behind the scenes as long as the game works as intended, right? I said in a previous video that I was gonna release my game in December. That was a very optimistic thing of me to say. But I am getting closer to finishing my first project. I will probably be making a short announcement whenever I'm 100% certain I have the game finished. But until then, I will just have to continue working on it. I hope that this little recap personal thoughts video was entertaining, and if there's one takeaway from this video, it is that even after 6 months, I still don't know how to end a video.